Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jesse. My pronouns are he and him, and I will be your GM tonight for this playtest of Checkpoint Midnight, the Clockmaker's Noose. A game in development by Cloven Pine Games. This game is being run through the Gauntlet gaming community, where we have a gaming calendar and also a bunch of other stuff, but most prominently the gaming calendar. You can find all of our stuff at gauntlet-rpg.com. So check that out. Yeah, let's meet our players. And let's just, start with John. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is John. He, him pronouns. I've been playing with the Gauntlet for a couple of years, but just really active recently.
Awesome. Robbie, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Robbie. I use he, him pronouns. I've been playing with the Gauntlet for a few years now.
Wonderful. And Puckett.
Hey there, I am Puckett. I have been playing with the Gauntlet for quite some time, and I was a member before then, but much like John, wasn't especially active for like the first 6 months or so.
Cool. And Jax. Can't hear you, Jax. Still can't hear you. All right, maybe wrong mic input. That happens sometimes. Oh, I heard a sound for a second. All right, we'll come back to Jex, who will introduce himself in a little bit. We are using a number of safety tools tonight. We are using the X card. The X card lets any person involved in the game say X or X card, or go like this in front of the screen, or type X in our chat to excise some content that they are uncomfortable or unhappy with. No explanation required, no justification required. I might ask for just a question or two to just make sure I understand exactly what's being removed. We are also using some of Bo Sheldon's script change tools. Specifically, we're using Rewind, which lets a player say rewind to back up to any point in the fiction and have anything that happened after that be erased. Again, no justification required. May ask a question or two to pinpoint the elements of those scenes that you're particularly uncomfortable with, so that we don't repeat them. We also are using pause. Pause lets anyone who's playing just say pause and pause the action for a moment. And when they do so, obviously the action of the fiction is paused. It can be used for, anything, but specifically I found it most useful when things are getting kind of heated, and it's helpful to just take a break. You can use pause for that. And in addition, it can also be helpful sometimes when, again, things are getting kind of heated and you want to have a kind of meta conversation about the fiction. Then you can sort of say, hey, pause, I just want to talk about that for a brief moment. And then or a long moment, and then you can press play and we will continue the action as necessary. And the third script change tool we're using is fast forward. Fast forward lets us move through the fiction. Whatever happens, we all know what's about to happen, but we don't want to put it on camera. My classic example is the death of a beloved NPC. So we say, I know they're going to die, but I'd like to fast forward through that, and we can all agree that it happened, but we just won't put the camera on it. So those are the script change tools we are using. He has a number of others. Check them out. Script change is great. The third sort of major set of safety tools we're using are lines and veils. We have lists of lines and veils that we have compiled. Lines are things that will never take place in the fiction, and veils are things which might happen in the fiction, but we won't put on camera. The classic example of a veil is, a couple kisses, the scene fades to black, cut to the next scene of the two of them in bed smoking cigarettes. Everyone knows what happened, but the activity was veiled. It happened in the fiction, but we didn't put it on camera. Those lists are living lists, so if anybody has anything they want to add to them, or if you want to move something from veils to lines, you should feel free to do so. Just let me know you've made an update if you did, so that I can just be on top of that. Anyone have any questions about safety tools? Wonderful. Jex, just you want to check in on the mic and see whether that's working better?
Yes. Hi. Hello.
There we go.
Okay. Hi.
There we go. We're all good. I want you to
Hi.
introduce yourself, and then do you mind being the first to introduce your character since you're?
Sure. No, that's fine. I'm Jex. I use they them pronouns. I've been playing with Gauntlet for a couple of years as well. And I am playing Vald Lesovic, the Leshy, the Guardian. But the specific role that I have taken is the Leshy. I'm a forest deity. Vald typically takes a sort of masculine appearance, beard and kind of stringy gray hair, very white skin, animal eyes, dark clothes. Vald resides in the Schönbrunn Zoo, in kind of a patch of old forest that is much, much older than the zoo is. And that kind of area keeps getting encroached upon. And what else?
You want to say a little bit about like where you find yourself at the beginning of this session? I think we're going to start with you, but if you don't, that's also fine. We can come back around because I do think I want to start with where we left off with you next this scene.
Okay, yeah, I am notoriously don't remember what happened until other people start talking about it, and then it starts coming back into my head. So
we'll cut back and then we'll double back to you so that we can sort of open with that scene. Wonderful. So. John, how about you tell us about Anton?
Sure. I'm playing Anton Schill. He is the type of the playbook is storied, and specifically he's a collector. And that means he can kind of produce like magical trinkets, at some opportune moments. He also his kind of backstory is he's looking for this book to try and free himself from a deal that he made with a literal devil. Another one of his powers lets him kind of make deals with people also. That's probably a good brief introduction.
Awesome. Sounds good. And do you remember what you were sort of up to at the end of last session?
No.
All right, we'll do a little summarizing for everybody in a minute. Puckett, why don't you introduce us to Lily?
So I'll be playing Lily Krause tonight. She is a young Roma woman whose family had started moving south before the war started and wound up in Austria, thinking that would be safe. Obviously, it wasn't. And since the war ended, she has been trying to find any surviving family members and find out what happened to the ones who didn't make it. And the last time we saw her, she was basically taking on the guise of just a street person in Vienna with a little tin cup that she was shaking for coins, hiding under a shawl, making plans to go help Vald after Anton sold him down the river. Quite literally.
Wonderful. Well, not wonderful, but interesting, exciting, great. Finally, Robbie, would you like to introduce us to Gemma?
Yeah, Gemma is using the constructed playbook with the role of the golem. Gemma had a maker, but doesn't really know that much about the maker because this would have happened towards the beginning of the war, and the maker left the city. And I think we don't know specifically all the details, but we're thinking the worst of what has happened to the Maker. Although Gemma doesn't, fully know that. Was made out of the clay from a cemetery in Vienna, and Gemma. I know what Gemma was up to from our last session. Gemma had a run-in with somebody named Hildegard Fuchs, who was maybe trying to intimidate him, trying to find something out about Gemma. Had kind of realized at a party on a boat that Gemma was something special, but Gemma ended up turning the tables a bit on Hildegard Fuchs, and as a result of that encounter, now has part of an arm of Miss Dr. Fuchs inside him, and he's trying to find where Hildegard is and arrange some type of meeting with her.
Wonderful. Yes. So the broader frame for all of that is all of you were sent on a mission by the Clockmaker, a black marketeer who has some leverage on all of you, although you now all have leverage on him as well, to figure out who this organization was that was sort of not in sidestepping his various different black market pipelines into the city with their own smuggling. And what you discovered is that they were smuggling magical creatures, both sort of sentient magical people as well as magical animals, in and out of the city, and at least partly to experiment on them. And you convinced them to pay at the cost of turning Vald over to them, which was a choice that Anton made, and with Vald's consent, I will note. We ended the last session with some people divided about that decision. Vald was briefly imprisoned, but used some magic to show a dark divine form of his Leshy side to Dr. Hildegard Fuchs, who was intimidated, but it got the attention of Dan, a elemental spirit of the Danube, who pulled Vald out of the boat. They had been on the consortium holds parties on its boat as kind of, I think, a cover for its activities, but also because they're high class people who like to have a good time, and so who pulled Vald out of the boat. And we ended our last session with Vald sort of sitting by the banks of the Danube, with this giant mouth speaking to them, and saying, I felt your power, cousin. I think they called you cousin. And I could not let you stay in confinement, despite the fact that you had wanted to stay in confinement because you wanted to take out this lab. So this has complicated that. I also want to check in. You said in the chat right before we started that you want to take a Soviet handler. I'm curious if you thought about who that Soviet handler is. Would you like me to assign one to you?
Yeah, I have no thought about who it is. I mean, I guess no, I'm cool with whatever.
Okay. Then what do you think about Lily? Did you have any siblings, older siblings, perhaps?
I mean, my family, such as it is quite extended. Mm-hmm. So there were children I knew who were often called brothers or sisters, but whether I was actually related to them, it's anyone's guess.
That's fine. But did you have, like, say, was there one of them who was maybe 4 or 5 years older than you?
Tomas.
Tomas, wonderful. So we'll figure out how to work this into the fiction at some point during the session. But I think perhaps your handler is Tomas Kraus. He, him. And you know, like I said, we'll figure out what that looks like exactly in a bit. Okay. So I'd like to, if you don't mind, opening up on that scene with you by the water, and this elemental creature saying, "Cousin, I could not leave you imprisoned by those people. I hear the cries from that boat and feel the anguish and sorrow. And I'm not strong enough to necessarily stop all of it, but I knew I could at least get you off when I felt the kinship. Do you know Dan previously? You know, you're a spirit of part of this land. Is this one of the other spirits that you're acquainted with? Actually, and there's a move for this if you want to make it. Called this is just a general move called Establish Your Bona Fides. So when you meet an important NPC for the first time, the MC chooses one option from this list, then you may choose one. It doesn't say this is whenever you do. I'm going to let you choose if you want it to trigger or not. But if you do, we can choose something here.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah.
In that case, I assume it's not super clear. I think the MC chooses one option from this list means I choose one for my MC character, and then you choose one for your character.
I feel like the way they're written, like some of them are they, some of them are you. That really unclear. I would imagine you could choose for either way. I don't know. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I think what this is that whether you know them or not, you definitely know their type well, so you can take advantage on your first move targeting them.
Okay.
You know that you're a nature spirit. They're a nature spirit local to this area.
Yeah. I think that they are well informed and have a secret to hold over me, and they can have leverage.
Yeah. What do you think the secret is?
I think that you know, I mean, time works very differently for, you know, deities and spirits and stuff, but I think that, you know, there was like a sort of council of the elements that you know, has been meeting for a long time but stopped meeting maybe like several centuries ago, and or not stopped meeting, but I stopped going to it. So I think it has something to do with that.
Yeah, I like that. I think maybe it's that they maybe they know how much of the land that is the zoo you deliberately gave up to humanity. Right?
Yeah.
Like you're fighting for these scraps, but you also have this like deep interest in human culture and human pastries, right? So I wonder if they know that you were bribed. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe you were bribed.
Yeah, I mean it's something, and I think I like this because it gives me a deep well of shame to draw on now. Yeah, no, that's really good.
I have this picture. I've never been to the Schoenfeld Zoo. I've never been to Vienna. I've seen pictures of the zoo and different stuff, right? And I've been looking at it because it's important to our session. But we have this like picture book, this kid's book, Goodnight Gorilla, which I don't know if anybody's seen it, but like, you know, I was reading it to my kid this afternoon, and like the way it kind of works is like the zookeeper's house is just like across the street, across a lawn. It's not even a street. It's like across a lawn from the zoo, right? And there's this like row of very classic American suburban looking houses just like lined up outside the zoo without a road or anything. There's just like this big grass lawn. And I kind of picture, obviously in the context of Vienna, but like that's kind of what the Schoenfeld Zoo is. It's just like, you know, they're in this residential area with no real delineation, because like what's human and what's wild there, really, and it's all pended and domesticated in that sense. I don't know. That was a vibe I was getting this afternoon. Cool. Yeah. So Dan has leverage over you for that. And I think they say you have to, those are dangerous, scary people, and it's a dangerous, scary place. And I hate to do this, but, and I'm not going to, they tell you how you're kind of complicit. Not in like a literal way, right? But the way that you gave up some of your territory, some of your land, some of your space, to be domesticated, is like what kicked off, right? Like ultimately what they do, right? The taming and control of the wild and the magical, and they say you have to stay away from them. You're just, it's too much. It's bad for you. It's bad for the city. You think you can fight them, but you will, if they have you and use you, it will just strengthen their power. And they are now taking that leverage and using it on you. And what they want is for you to stay away from the consortium, which is, one of your objectives.
Yeah, there's not a chance in hell of that happening. So what do I do?
I think, right. So I think the explicitly, right, because that's actually a big thing for them to ask you to do. So I think I'm gonna make it more explicit and say, right, stay off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let don't walk back into their territory. Not telling you not to act against them, but to like not walk back into their territory, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably a better ask.
I would think I want to do this push back thing, and
Sure.
So they can remove one option from the list for each leverage they hold on me.
Oh, right. So there is still a multiple leverage. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So they hold one right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the option you cannot choose is you can't promise them something else you think they want.
Mm-hmm. I would like to try to cut a deal by giving them another leverage over me. That deal being, cousin, I don't want to fight them. I want to destroy them, and you can help me. I may have been absent for the last almost millennia, but this is important, and they're hurting us and our kind, and you and our other cousins can help.
So I understand what you want them to do, but that's, you're not giving them more leverage. You're asking them to do work for you.
Right. But, okay. Yeah.
I think those are sort of two separate things, right? You can first offer them the leverage, and then
okay,
you want to like turn it back on them to get them involved is I think would be a
Gotcha.
separate move.
Well, so yeah, and I think it's, you're right. I haven't been as present as, as I could be. I've been too close to the humans that I could think that kind of thing, just sort of like confirming like, yeah, that shit that you have on me is like absolutely accurate, and I'm vulnerable to it, I guess.
All right, and then maybe that's what I mean. Your confession is more leverage with that sort of community of spirits, right? Like,
Right.
yeah. They know that you did it, and you admit it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So that's additional leverage. But now now you made this speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me that you're appealing to their ideals.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, look, they're terrible. Like that's what that speech sounded like to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I will roll a streamer. So
So when you appeal to someone's ideals, say what you want them to do or not to do, and then roll plus dreamer.
All right, and my dreamer, I think, is 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a 5.
That's a 5. Oof. Yeah. So on a 5, and we're gonna cut away before we actually make that move there. You're in the MC's hands. So yeah. So I think there's like 15 seconds of dead silence for the river. Right. You're just like sitting there, and then cut. And so the three of you are all in sort of different places, right? Gemma was pursuing Dr. Fuchs, right? Lily, you had hunted down the Clockmaker in his lair, and were sort of, you just discovered that. And Anton, I think you had left the Clockmaker after getting paid, and you were sort of like at odds. You hadn't really decided on a concrete course of action. So I'm kind of curious, Anton, what do you do? Where are you going? What are you trying to achieve? I know you want to start going after this book, right? I'm curious, like, you've got some leverage on folks. You've got some contacts. I'm curious what where you want to go with it.
Yeah, I think like the part I can't remember is like was the Clockmaker is did I try getting the Clockmaker to help me find the book?
No, you didn't. We said we can like a little bit like reframe, like have your next scene be sort of like the end of that last, like Gemma gets up to go after being paid off, and you say, "Can I just hang around for a second? I have a question." Do you want to do what you want to, and play that scene? Sure. So the Clockmaker sort of like lowers his newspaper, and inhale. Well, doesn't inhale, but takes a drag on his cigar, and a puff on his cigar, and says, "Yes, Anton, what can I do for you?"
Well, my friend, now that I've done a favor for you, I'm wondering if you might do a favor for me.
I mean, reciprocal favors are the currency Vienna runs on, Anton.
Well, that's good to hear. I am looking for an item, and I'm wondering if you could perhaps ask around and see if anyone has either seen something like it or knows where I might look for it.
Sure. Are you interested? I mean, it sounds to me like you're using your leverage here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and roll plus leverage. It's +1. You can also spend that leverage if you want to roll with advantage. Um,
I think I'll just use a regular.
yeah, sure. You want to keep your leverage? That makes sense.
Yeah. And okay. So 2d6 plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a 6.
Ooh, that's a 6. um, he sort of frowns and he says, "Oh, Anton, you've asked me for one thing. That, well, let's just say I'm already bound up. I've made some commitments around what you're asking about, and frankly, now that you're asking, I'm afraid I'm going to have to tell the person, well, the creature who has engaged me, well, that you've pushed here. I'm giving you warning. It's someone who goes by the name of. Hold on one second. Yeah, of Gabriel Engel, which is not a name you recognize, but you're clever, and it's not a very obvious cover, right? So
Right.
you know this is the angel pursuing you. You've never heard about it going around in human form, right? By this name. So you can actually get some information out of this failure, right? And so he tells you that I'm going to have to tell Mr. Engel about this. And I understand he's not particularly fond of you. And you can definitely try to act to prevent him from telling. This is a definitely a soft move, if you want. But if you do, you roll with disadvantage.
Well, is there anything I can possibly give you that might dissuade you from talking to this Herr Engel?
I mean, are you like looking them over? Are you trying to decipher them? Is that the play here? Like, because if you're just asking, no, he just looks at you and says no. But you could try to read him, see if there's maybe something that he's not telling you.
Sure. Let's try that.
Yeah. So how are you? Describe to me how are you trying to figure this out? Are you using a natural or supernatural sense?
This is a good question. I think if I try to get an item, is that just to help me with that? Does that mean I would roll decipher with plus fable, or would I just roll my power?
All right, so let me take a look at how that move is phrased exactly. I think you'd probably be doing something different. I mean, I think that wouldn't then be decipher. I think that is tell me what you're looking for, and depending on the roll, right, I'll just give you the information that you want, right, without having to roll the cipher. I think it makes the most sense. I don't think we want to stack a bunch of stuff here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna roll this side. I'm just gonna roll this side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's 3d6, right? 3d6. Keep the lowest 2.
Yes, keep the lowest 2.
I didn't put the plus 1 in there, so it looks. Oh, that's a 5.
Oh, Anton. And he says, Well, it's a little late for that. And Gabriel Engel walks in. He is a tall, dark-haired, dark-eyed, high-cheekboned, sort of fine features, wearing a gray flannel suit, brown shoes, like the picture, almost of like the picture of a businessman of the early 50s, and now Lily. Lily, let's talk for a moment.
Of course.
I want to figure out kind of where we are in the fiction here because of Anton seeing this kind of happening in the past from when you found the Clockmaker's hideout. So I kind of want to retcon what you did a little bit, which is just to sort of say, like, what you found that you both know where that hideout is, and also whenever you want to step into the Clockmaker, you can. Assuming your like immediate fiction doesn't prevent that from happening.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, sure. The one thing that I would kind of like to preserve is Lily basically hiding in plain sight.
Oh, 100%. No. All the things you did.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And that spirit of the city, that sort of like unknown dead of the city, followed the Clockmaker and found that hideout in the sewers, and you know where that is.
Yep. It's under the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, exactly. But he has a bunch of them and he moves around a lot. But until you go to actually find him, you can find him. Okay. And in this moment, he is at the checkpoint with Anton. I just want to sort of like not in that hideout, just so that we can sort of
course,
preserve the timeline in a way that makes sense. But you have that you think of it as a hold you have to surprise the Clockmaker.
Got it.
Take one. I think is probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
So you've tracked down the Clockmaker, and you have a lot of kind of your own agenda here. I'm curious what you want to pursue in this moment.
So, if it's okay with you,
sure.
Considering that I'm basically looking for all the world like just a woman begging on the streets.
Yeah.
I think it might be fun to have a handler pop in now. Maybe by dropping a coin in the cup?
Sure, absolutely.
And I don't much care which side. Surprise me.
Let's give you a Western handler. If your brother is an Eastern handler. And do you have any thoughts for who they might be, or should I just pick one?
Somebody who would claim to have knowledge of like Roma movements after the war, concentration camp locations, that sort of thing.
100%.
Beyond that, don't care. Brit, American, man, woman, surprise me.
Yeah. So a coin drops in your cup, and you look up and you see the face of an elderly woman. Probably in her late 70s, or mid 70s, dressed kind of shabbily. No obvious signs of affiliation, and she says to you, in American accented German. And I'm curious, like this is our first sight of her. Is this her introducing herself to you, or have you met her before?
I have never seen this woman before in my life.
Yeah. So she says to you in American accented German, I think I have information that would be helpful to you. Meet me in the checkpoint in 20 minutes.
Okay.
And do you go?
I'm going to surveil the location first, just to make sure it doesn't look like, just so I don't see any obvious traps.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so like a basic look around doesn't, find you anything. If you want to, forget, can you decipher a location, or is it just a person? I think it's just a person.
Is this going to intersect with the Clockmaker and Anton?
Probably. I intend it to, but it doesn't necessarily have to if you don't want it to. And you can definitely, I will definitely let you go in there without catching their notice. But I think you'll be in the space at the same time as them.
I definitely want to avoid attracting attention and to continue to seem MIA, as it were.
Yeah. Sorry, are you deciphering sort of the square where she approached you, or are you deciphering the checkpoint?
The checkpoint.
Okay. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You're looking around. So yeah. So I mean, you see, and you probably know, because this was, you're not surprised when you see Anton and the Clockmaker and a third person who you don't recognize. I think part of the reason why you're not noticed as you slip in, right, is that they're so caught up with this other figure, right, that you can sort of like sneak upstairs before they see you come in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you want to try and decipher just to see if there's
absolutely. Let's roll some dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I think in this case, I'm just going to use my natural senses.
Sure.
So I'll roll that 2d6 plus 2.
Mm-hmm.
That gets me a 9.
That's a 9. All right. On 9, you get, I think, one question. Yeah. So you get one question. And just like your survey, it's the checkpoint. You know what the checkpoint looks like. It's seems normal. No one, the rules that were selected. You weren't here for that session, but the rules do not permit planning or execution of violence, nor supernatural powers on another person.
Okay.
So like you feel relatively safe in that sense there.
All right. And since I'm deciphering the location and not a person,
if you want to be deciphering the handler, that's also fine. I mean, like however you want to.
Okay. Well, in that case, I want to know what's going on under the handler's surface.
Yeah. So I think you approach her, and I'm gonna sort of play this out in the first, like in the introduction piece of it. You approach her. I kind of imagine she was first sitting downstairs, so you would notice her, and you kind of like make eye contact and indicate to her that you want to go upstairs, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a two-story space. And so she looks at you for a second, but kind of follows a few seconds later. And so you're the one who's established at the table approaching her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she sits down and she introduces herself, and she says that her name is Laura Wilder.
Laura Wilder. What a great
Laura
name.
Wilder, yeah. Not the famous one. I just stole her name. But she's about the right age for it. Laura Wilder, and she's like I said, she's dressed kind of shabbily. But not poorly, right? Her clothes are not in the greatest condition, but they're well made. It's a suit. It's a sort of a skirt suit. She's wearing sensible flats. She's got a hat on. She's carrying a handbag,
Mm-hmm.
and is wearing kind of an overcoat. She sits down across from you, and she says, "I know much about the movements of all kinds of people during the war, and I think that's information that would be of interest to you. But as she says it, there's kind of a hitch. I think the thing that's under the surface here is that she's sort of explaining. She sort of is let you not know she works for the American government. She'd like you to work for the American government too. She has certain tasks she'd like you to perform, and she knows something about what you were up to during the war, which you would not like exposed. And you can decide what that is. We've talked about that in different ways, in a few different ways, right? Maybe it's the same thing the Clockmaker knows about the lies, right? About seances. But the thing that you see under the surface is that the information that she's holding, that she's claiming she has for you, and what she does is which is true that she has, is you're going to want to follow up on it, but she also very much wants you to follow up on it, if that makes sense, right? Like she has a stake in the outcome of your investigation of Roma movement and camp location, etc. during the war. You're not sure what it is, but like this isn't just what she's using you for, right? Meaning it's not just your reward for working for her. In some sense, it's also the job. But she doesn't let that on directly. You just sort of can tell from her tone of voice that she's talking about it, from the way her eyes sort of shifts around, the way she looks at you with a sort of mix of empathy and calculation.
So it sounds like this is something that she has taken on because maybe there's a friend or a family member or a branch of her family who's affected in some way by this.
Unclear. Possibly. It's also possible that it works the other way. Like she's realized you would be a good agent for her, because she was already doing these investigations, right? Like it's that probably there's a circle there, right?
Yeah. And I look at her and I say, forgive me, Fraulein, but you seem a bit mature to be doing this sort of work for the Americans.
She looks at you and she says, it takes a mature soul to do this work right. Children fuck it up. And
I giggle at the curse word.
Yeah. Or I say the obscenity seems weird, right? In her kind of like, and I don't know German well enough to know like what the German equivalent there is, but like it seems out of place in this very sort of like matronly woman's mouth, and you can tell she's like doing like she's doing that deliberately, right? She's sort of.
I giggle and quickly cover my mouth to make sure that it isn't too loud.
Mm-hmm. And she smiles and says, "The young always underestimate their elders."
I watched the elders that I knew surprise so many people in so many ways because they never expected it and they never saw it coming. My name's Lily Krause. It's nice to meet you, Miss Wilder.
I know. And then she lays out for you what she wants you to do. And you can consider this a new mission objective, right? And she says, she says, there is a woman, a scientist, who, well, she's not fully associated with the Soviet bloc yet, but she works in their territory and under their protection. And she occasionally throws them some information. I would like her working for me. You may have met her. Her name is Fuchs.
You know, I forget. Is there a basic move to kind of keep it together?
There is a keep calm and carry on move in the face of scrutiny or pressure, but it's not like, you know, it's not like a saving throw kind of move. It's like if you're trying to accomplish. So if there's what are you specifically trying to accomplish
Specifically,
here?
I am trying to not let on that I have heard that name and that, quite frankly, I've already made up my mind that I'm going to kill this woman or see her dead.
Sure, yeah.
Or could be pull a fast one.
Well, I think you're not trying. Are you trying to like create an opportunity, or are you just trying to like avoid something bad happening? It sounds like keep calm and carry on to me. I think
I'm trying not to show my hand.
Sure, yeah. I think it's keep calm and carry on.
Okay, so 2d6, no label.
Mm-hmm.
That's an 8.
That is an 8. So here's the compromise or hard choice you have to make in order not to give up the information, your knowledge. I think you have to give something else up instead. And I'll let you choose what that is, but basically you are showing distress. You have to sort of justify why that name makes you look so mad. Or you cannot, and you can just tell her. Right? That's the choice. But that's the choice you have to make. And if you're like overtly lying, you're going to have to pull a fast one. I mean, if what you're saying is just overtly false, you're going to have to pull a fast one to get away with it.
So I say to her, what kind of research does this scientist do? I may know of another scientist or person in the city who might be able to perform the same tasks.
It's biological sciences, and no, you don't.
So you would not be interested in, say, the Clockmaker? And I kind of jerk my head downstairs to where they're still at the table.
She laughs and she said, so I just want to make it clear, you haven't yet explained why you look angry. So we're going to have to get to that at some point, right? But she laughs and she says, the Clockmaker is too useful to everyone right now. No, I have no special interest in the Clockmaker. He's fairly transparent, really.
And I sigh and say, you may know something of, given what you have already shown, you may know something of me and what I can do.
She glides her head.
Some of the family members I have managed to find, the ones who are no longer living, have told me that there was a woman named Fuchs who was involved in their demise.
Is that true?
I think to Lily it is. I mean, that's certainly, I think, something that she would have been able to track down eventually, having been in Vienna this period.
No,
of
yeah,
time.
yeah. No. I mean, I'm fine with it being true. I just want to know whether
Yeah.
like dead
It-
people actually
she's
told
not-
her that.
Yeah, I think in her case, that is what happened when she finally managed to get the right spirit to lead her to the right place.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And she frowns and says, "That's not really my concern. Um, I need you to do this thing. Will you do it for me?" Um, and and I mean, she's not exerting leverage necessarily, right? But no, here she is. She is your handler.
Mhm.
And if you remember what happens when you refuse a mission from your handler, hold on, and then we're going to cut to our
Market
first break.
condition, isn't it?
It might be. It says in the advancement tab. There's too many tabs. I think you're right. Whether you accept those, you consider they can accept whether you declare or abandon mission of yours marks its stress equal to their leverage. So you can mark stress to decline the mission, which
Okay.
is 1 stress right now.
And I say, Miss Wilder, there are many things that I would be glad to help you with. This is not one of them. And I'll go ahead and mark that stress.
She frowns, and you can see that she's pissed, right? And she says, "Oh, very well. If I can come up with some way to make you useful, some other way to make you useful, I'll let you know." And she drops some money on the table and walks out. And you'll be hearing from her again. Don't worry. This is a good time to take a break. Take our first break. We'll take 10, and then Gemma. Let's come to you. All right. See you all at 10 past the hour.
I'm back, Jesse.
Awesome. So Gemma, you left Anton to deal with the Clockmaker. You're at odds in the city also. Looking for Dr. Hildegard Fuchs. What's your strategy here? Do you go back to the boat? Do you reach out to your friend who you know works there? Do you know?
Yeah, I think going to her name is Hilda.
Hilda, yeah. If you want to like wait till morning and like knock on her door or something, that might.
Yeah, I mean, she seems like she would be a natural way.
Yeah. I guess it is morning now, right? All of this was taking place in the morning. Oh, I forgot about that, right? The next morning, right? So yeah. So she answers the door, and she's where does she live? Like, what's her situation now? You've helped her out. You rebuilt her house, right? That was
Right.
what your deal was.
Yeah.
So what's that house like? What part of the city is it in? It's like which area, which sort of area of control?
So I'm imagining it's a part of the city that is somewhat destitute. I mean, I think it's people in, I think, more desperate state of affairs. In terms of you have the I don't know my Vienna geography very well.
That's fine. I don't either. You just
yeah, it might make sense that it would be some neighborhood, not on the river, but but nearby, right? Which maybe would be why she would have gotten the job of right helping out on the boat.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense to me. So hold on. I need to be better at.
So I just imagine it's probably not very far from where we were that night.
Yeah. So I mean, let's say it's the Soviet it's in the Soviet controlled part of the city, and so is it like a ramshackle townhouse? Is it like was it an apartment building that she has an apartment in? I'm just trying to. It's like a tenement kind of building.
Yeah, and I rebuilt it. So let's say some small, rather old and at least decrepit tenement building. But I at least her part of it. I imagine her part of it actually now looks visibly better than her neighbor because of my role in kind of building it back.
Sure. And does she live alone or with family?
I think she lives alone, although near family members.
Got it. Yes. So she answers the door, and she's in kind of like a bathrobe, and has her hair kind of like tied up and back, and she says to you, "What are you? I don't know what you've been playing at, Gemma. It's dangerous. Come in." And she like brings you into her home, and she's making herself breakfast. She's probably frying up some eggs. And remember, you don't eat, right?
No.
Does she know that about you?
I get some oil from Anton periodically to renew myself, but yeah, I think she knows that I don't eat.
So she doesn't offer you anything, and she's sort of like cooking, and she says, I don't understand why you would keep doing this. I appreciate that you back down a little bit, but stay away from those people, Gemma. They're bad news.
I'm confused. You told me to mediate. You can't mediate if you totally disengage, right? Mediation involves bringing together, and I have a way for that now.
Right. So clarification, I think. Right. So she didn't tell you to mediate. She told you to leave. Right. Right. I think what happened was when you filled that role is like you took what she said and like about like they're dangerous. You don't want to fight them. You should get out of here, and like incorporated it into your sort of old way of understanding your word and reinterpreted it. And that's what that Phil was me saying. Right. That's your sort of reintegration of her advice into your overall worldview. Right, was that you should mediate, but she didn't tell you that. She's like, I didn't tell you to mediate. I told you to get the hell out of there. You don't want to mediate for those people.
I did leave.
And I'm happy to see that. I'm glad you left. You're here now. You're not going to go back, are you?
Well, when I left, I took a part of somebody with me.
What?
Well, do you know a woman named Hildegard?
Dr. Fuchs?
Yes.
I don't know her. She's one of the bosses there. She's a scary, tough lady.
Well, yeah, she comes across that way, but she's a broken woman. And I know you think it's dangerous. I need to meet her. Maybe not on the boat, but I need to talk to her. It doesn't need to be with all the other thugs on the boat.
You need to meet with her? No, I'm not gonna. No, you need to stay away. You took her arm? She's so confused. Did you say? Sorry, I just want to make sure you did say that, right?
I said I took a part of her.
You took wherever. Sorry.
I took yeah.
You took. What do you mean you took a part of her?
Well, I have a part of her inside of me.
I still don't know what you mean. It's a very weird thing to say, Gemma. I know you're not used to. You say a lot of weird things, but this is. You have a. Did you like take a bite out of her leg or something?
I think you better sit down.
She sits down at the table. She sort of, at this point, she's like brought her plate over and is now like sitting down at the table. Like when you say, as you say that, she sort of like fills her plate from the stovetop and comes to sit down at the table.
I don't know what you're gonna think of this, and before I show this, I did not initiate this. She did. But, and then, Gemma will proceed to kind of reach towards his spine into himself and pull out the arm of Hildegard.
Yeah, she looks kind of queasy. And she says, that's real gross. Gemma, you were being very. Could you put that away?
Yeah, and Gemma realized that she would have some negative reaction, or it was probable. So he quickly will kind of put it back secure inside himself and say, I think, although you no doubt are going to question this, I think there's an opportunity here. If I could meet her, she certainly, I think she would be interested in having it back.
I'm not gonna just like take. No, I think I think you should get rid of that thing. Never think of it in her again, and pray that those people don't come after you for it. And I mean, you can try to exert leverage to get her to go along. You have leverage on her.
Oh yeah. I think I will. I'll say, look, I know you're always worried about me, but I certainly can take care of myself. You need to get in touch with Miss Fuchs, Dr. Fuchs, and get her to meet me.
Sure. So roll plus. So yeah. So you roll +1 plus leverage, and you can also spend that leverage if you want to roll with advantage.
Yeah, I think I will roll with advantage.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'll just roll
3d6
then. Yeah.
+1.
Oh, it always does. I don't know why I need to refresh it here. Just 1 second. All right. So I'm just going to roll the 3d6, and then we'll add 1 to the
6. So you take. So you get it. So it's a 9. 10. It's a 10 +1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you 10 plus. They choose comply grudgingly or gladly, or I can give them something else that's even more costly. And I think, she doesn't have anything that's any more costly, and you've spent your leverage. She's like she's complying grudgingly. And what she's going to say is, damn it, Gemma. All right, I'll do this for you, but this is it. Okay, I'm not gonna let myself put myself or you on the line. Again, you helped me and I appreciate it, and we're friends, but this is the last thing you can ask of me. And that's sort of like indicating that you spent your leverage, right, to roll with advantage. And she frowns and she says, "Okay, look, I don't know where she lives, and I know for sure that I don't want you going back on that boat to meet her. She thinks, she's like, all right, I'm working tonight. You can meet her. I'll set up a meeting in the checkpoint. That will be safe for you. Does that work? Are you okay with that?"
At the checkpoint.
Yes, at the checkpoint.
Yeah, that would be that would be safer than the boat.
Yes. All right. I can't promise anything. She has to agree, but I will mention that the person who has her arm is going to wants to meet her at the checkpoint.
Yeah, and if she was wearing like a ring or a watch or something, I could probably give that.
Definitely. She had a ring with a fox on it.
Yeah, so I could give that to Hilda and say this should vouch for your truthfulness.
Out of character, I just want to make you clear about some of the fictional stakes of this, right? Which is just that, like, you're putting Hilda in real danger here, right? Like, these are scary people. She works for them as a bartender. Right, but knowing that like she's involved with some of this stuff, right, is puts her at some real risk. So I just want you as a player to know that. I wouldn't be surprised if Gemma's not completely thinking about that. But just be aware. I want to make sure you're cool with that. Okay. Yeah. Vald, and I think we're now going to try to circle back and try and get some of you folks in scenes together. In a minute, but Vald, I know that Lily and Vald wanted to reconvene at some point, so maybe we'll try and angle into that here. But you just failed a ideals roll, right? What's this called? Appeal to ideals. And I think two things kind of happen. Or really, it's one thing, but it's all at once. You make this speech, and And then Dan just disappears. And as he does, sort of picking, there's like a barrier wall, kind of like a support wall right along the shore of the river here. And then there's sort of like broken asphalt, dirt, and sand, like the shore laps against at the bottom of this wall, and that's kind of where you're at, right? And picking their way down a sort of crumbling set of stairs in this river wall, you see a Roma man. Dark hair, kind of like tanned skin. You can see signs of tattoos. You can see signs of tattoos, sort of like on the like coming from his wrists and his collar. He seems like he's been extensively tattooed. Although obviously you don't know for sure the full extent of it. He looks out at the river as he comes down and approaches you, and says, "Your friend seems to have disappeared."
That happens to me.
I sometimes have that effect on things.
I appreciate that, but I'm pretty sure it's all me.
And he looks at you and says, "It's a funny thing, but right before he disappeared, he said some things. They said them to you, but they also said them to me. And I think just what he's telling you is that, like, not only like did Dan spell out what their leverage was on you, but they also were deliberately telling this person, right? And so, in addition to the leverage Tomas has on you, just for being your handler, like automatically, it's he also has a second leverage, just like Dan.
Does he handle all of the like elemental? Like, I would love that idea.
Sure, I hadn't really thought about it. I wasn't thinking of Dan as a Soviet agent, but they can be, right? They can be. That's an interesting twist there. But either way, I mean, have you met Tomas before, or is this him like sort of exerting his like coming here to push you for the first time?
I think I like that better. I think maybe I've seen him. You know, like I've seen him maybe following me or watching me, but I've not. You know, there was no like turn around and confront.
Right. You've been a target for a while. They've wanted you as an agent, and now he has this leverage that he can use to pull you in. I like it. And yeah, so Tomas says, "Listen, my name's Tomas Kraus. I work for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and well, now that I know some of this stuff, I have a job for you."
Kraus, is that a common last name?
It's not uncommon.
Okay. What's this job? I mean, it doesn't sound like I have a lot of choice in the matter.
No, you really don't. And he tells you about a book, a mysterious book, that. I mean, Anton, tell us. You haven't told us much about this book yet. Like, what does it do?
Well, it is all about sort of contracts with like angels and devils and other, like sort of supernatural beings. And I have never like seen this book myself. I just know that like if I want out of my contract with the devil, then I need this book. It's probably my best shot.
Sure. So I think he says your friend Anton knows a little bit more about it. I think you can ask him if you want more details. But it's about making bargains with powers. You know something about that yourself, I understand, as a power that has occasionally bargained. And I think he's carrying like a little sort of paper sack, and he opens it up to offer you like an eclair.
Vald sighs heavily and takes it.
Yeah. And he says, I want you to track down this book for us, and give it to me. Is that something you can do?
Specifically to keep it away from Anton, or for other reasons?
Specifically because we want it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will be useful to us.
Listen, I'm very, very old and very tired. And I'll do whatever it is you want me to do, but just know that men making bargains with powers doesn't usually go very well for men in the end.
And he looks at you and says, well, doesn't seem to be going very well for the powers either, does it?
I've seen better days.
And the people who run the zoo, how are they doing? Don't answer. I've been to parties at their houses. And he walks away, unless there's something you want to try to do there with him. I didn't give you a chance to do the NPC, meet a new NPC thing if you want, but he already has leverage on what?
I mean, that's okay. I mean, I already kind of picked that I don't really particularly know him.
Yeah.
No, I think just as he walks away, Vold kind of spits.
Yeah, sure. Also, just a reminder to Anton to take notoriety for your 10 roll earlier, if you didn't yet. And I want to cut back to Anton to sort of resolve this scene, but then I think it might make sense to sort of try and, I don't know, pull some of these characters together to both deal with the aftermath of that last mission and also to maybe there's new stuff that's happened that you might want to deal with together. So Anton, so Gabriel Engel comes over and sits down and says, thank you, Clockmaker. You're welcome to stay or leave. And he reaches into his sort of waistcoat and pulls out a pocket watch and says, I do have to get going, yes, but I'm sure the two of you have quite a bit to talk about. And he gets up and goes. And so Gabriel, hold on, I want to try and find this note here. Yeah. Says, well now, Mr. Shell, I've been looking for you for quite a while.
Well, who if I cried out, would hear me among the heavenly hosts, to paraphrase Herr Vilka. Apparently, you did.
I'm not here to answer your prayers, Anton.
Hmm.
And he speaks with like a kind of very flat Midwestern American accent also.
Gabriel Engel. It's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
I find it's not that helpful to try and hide who I am. Most people don't know or care, and for the people who can guess based on context, well, there's really no. If I called myself John Smith or I don't know, Daniela Brote, they would still figure out soon enough.
Well, what could poor little old me? What could I have possibly done to merit your attention?
And he just like looks at you with these cold eyes, and you feel like a real chill running up your spine. And you start to sweat, like a cold sweat. And he says, "Listen, Anton, you are in a real mess. You want that book to get out of your deal. I don't really care if you get out of your deal, but I want you to stop doing the work that you're doing."
Which work is that? Is it warm in here?
Bullshit, Anton. And like, I think everyone in the checkpoint sort of like looks up at that, and the ones who you're acquainted with kind of smile because they know, well, that's something they probably would have loved to shout at various points. And he says, "This isn't a game. This isn't a sale. This is business. This is a different kind of business. So you have two choices. You can agree to help me set up this your patron, your I don't know, the whatever you want to call him, call it. You can find the book and give it to me, in which case I'll leave you to do whatever you want. And those are really your choices.
That's right.
He doesn't have leverage on you, right? He doesn't have all he has is sort of the threat of violence right now, and he can't enact that in the checkpoint. So just like stakes here, right? He's asking you to do something with nothing to back it up except for your fear of whatever power he may or may not have on you at some future moment. And you know all of this, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am all about business. Maybe we can make a deal of some sort.
I've told you my terms. What are yours?
Well, maybe if I find the book, I might release myself from my situation before passing it along.
Oh, he laughs and he says, "You're a fool. Agree to find the book for me. And if you manage to release yourself, that's fine. But don't delay once you have it, because I'll know. And now I know where you are." And he reaches out and touches your forehead with his finger. And you feel a burning sensation. And he says, "I'll know." You don't know if that's true or not, right? If you'd failed a roll or whatever, right? Like, he would definitely be able to track you. But right now it's kind of like in this quantum state, right? We'll sort of see what happens. But maybe he can track you. Maybe he's messing with you.
Well, you'll be the first to know when I find the book.
Sure. And he gets up and walks away, unless you have something you want to try with him first.
Yeah, I don't think so. Last time I tried to decipher somebody, it didn't go well, and I already.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you want to go back and got to stop meeting like this, because that's always fun.
I thought about it, and I don't think it's appropriate for
sure.
Because this is kind of my adversary.
Yeah, sure. Well, sometimes sure, absolutely. Okay, yeah. I'm curious. I want to talk to Lily, but Lily, are you maybe interested in meeting up with Vald?
Absolutely, 100%.
And does anyone else want to be part of this? And would the two of you be comfortable with having anyone else be part of this?
What do you think, Jax?
I'm fine with if anyone wants to be, but I don't have any strong thoughts or ideas.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Lily would have tried to get out of the checkpoint as unobtrusively as possible, and then go back to trying to track down Vald.
Yeah, sure, and we can just make that happen. Like, where do you find Vald? Or Vald, where does she find you? Is probably a better way to ask the question.
At a bakery. Just rating the pastries. Like, it's a little later in the morning now, so there's the old stuff they're getting ready to throw out or put on sale or whatever, and I'm just buying all of it and eating my shame.
Sure. Like one of your regular haunts, maybe that's how Lily knows to find you there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like a I don't know. Is Vienna known for its? It doesn't matter.
It definitely is.
What kind of baking do you want to find in Vienna is more like the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely sweets, pastries, that kind of thing.
There's a list of Viennese dishes, which are mostly various different kinds of sweets. Sure. Yeah. So Lily, how do you? Vald is probably sitting at a table, just hoovering up these various different pastries.
No, I think what it actually is I have a big paper bag just full of all of them. I'm not actually eating them all here.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to leave, and I think it's probably as I'm opening the door to leave that Lily comes in, I imagine.
Sure.
You bump into a small Roma woman. Yeah. Vald.
Lily.
How are you? It is you, right?
Yes. Yeah. I
I'm
kind
not
of
hallucinating something. You're not a ghost.
No, I'm
I'm
here.
actually going to kind of poke at you a little bit just to make sure you're solid.
No, it's Lily, it's me. I'm not dead. I'm here. There's a park around the way. Can we go sit?
As long as you promise to tell me everything.
Yes, I mean yes. Your friend that you sent in to
Rutgar.
Yeah. I mean, as you're probably aware, I sent him away. I didn't intend to leave. But an old friend of mine had a different different plan and pulled me out of there. And now I have a Soviet who wants me doing business for him. And I don't know. It's not been a good morning, Lily. It's really not been a good morning. Is Kraus a common last name?
Kraus. Describe this man.
I describe him. I don't remember the details, but I described him.
It was pretty vaguely described too. I will say
you mentioned heavily tattooed.
Oh yes,
yeah,
yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he didn't have those tattoos, Lily, when you last saw him. Just for those are new.
You were approached by the Soviets, and I was approached by, well, someone claiming to be an American. She wanted me to recruit Fuchs to their cause.
And what did you say?
I respectfully declined.
I've always liked you, Lily. Yeah, I would. You can imagine I don't want to see Fuchs handed over to anyone.
Oh, I would like to see her handed over to someone.
If I get the entendre that you're, I mean, yes, I'm on board with
there
that.
are many spirits who would enjoy seeing her in the afterlife.
Yes, I'm sure of that. I don't know. My plan was to, stay on that boat and kill her and kill the guy and set everything free, and that obviously didn't work. So I'm kind of out of plans for right now.
Well, no plan survives contact with an enemy, does it? I suppose we need to figure out a new plan, don't we?
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
One moment. And I think my eyes will go kind of cloudy for a second as I do hunt for Red October.
Sure. You trying to find are you trying to find Dr. Fuchs?
Indeed.
Sure, roll it.
All right, and that's +2.
Yeah, go for it. What's fixer? I don't know your fixer is 2, yeah.
Oof! I biffed that hard. That's a miss no matter what.
Oh dear.
There's no way to assist with that, is there?
There is a helping move. It generally, let's talk about help because we haven't really been using it.
Sure.
The way when you provide aid or interfere with another, mark stress to give a PC advantage or disadvantage on a roll. So usually you would have to do it beforehand because we haven't really been using it. If Vald, if you want to somehow or another try and help Lily with this, I'll let you mark a stress to give her another die to try to make this better.
Can I have? I don't know if this makes sense, and this is a bit of a retcon, or maybe this could be a flashback. I don't know. I kind of want to have had have torn off a piece of her clothing or something like that. Like something small, like some kind of scrap from, or maybe some other kind of scrap from the boat that I happen to have. So
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think you can have when she sort of like leaned in and you were like big and being scary.
Mm-hmm.
You can have grabbed snatched a bit of sleeve or a hair or whatever.
Okay. Cool. So that's how I'm helping. And I think I probably don't even know that Lily's about to do this, but I think maybe when we started talking about Fuchs, I instinctively took out the piece of fabric.
Yeah, sure. So mark the stress, and go ahead, roll that third die, Lily.
All righty. And
You need at least 4.
But I had a 2 on the previous die. I have 2 on Fixer, plus 3 gets 7.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so you're
So
up
I
to a
just
7.
hit.
Yeah. So on a hit, you know where to find them and can follow their trail until you do. On a 7 to 9, the trail is torturous, marked stress. And I think this is actually a great moment to I think pull all of these pieces together. So mark the stress. And I think what's and you at first they're giving you sort of mixed signals. She's coming from an area you wouldn't be expecting her to, not near the boat at all. You can kind of surmise that maybe this is where she lives or where she's staying or who knows. Maybe it's a hospital. She had a rough night. But she's making her way closer and closer to the checkpoint. I think I think I wonder now if this is if you come to find her at the checkpoint now, you'll find her meeting with Gemma. You don't know that as characters, but I think that's maybe the most fun way to play this off.
And I will share that she's nearing the checkpoint and that we'll either need to catch her soon or wait. Because the checkpoint has this silly rule about not killing war criminals on the premises.
I think we should at least go to Observer.
I agree. We can always kill her after. As long as we're agreed that she absolutely must die.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no question.
Sure. And Lily, do you think this is strong enough to be poking your nose where you don't belong? If you don't, that's fine. I just wanted to put that out there.
I mean, yeah, it's. I have certainly. I mean, I obviously have business with her, but this may be taking it a bit far over. Like, it may be going from business to obsession. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not at all clear to me that you have any business with her. You've decided you have business with her.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard what she's doing on the boat. I saw what she wanted to do to my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the dead have told me that she had a hand in the demise of some of my family members. Yeah, maybe I am poking my nose a little bit where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, and Vald, I'm just looking at the release moves. You were definitely bargaining with an ancient power when you were trying to talk Dan into doing the thing. So you should definitely mark that release move, clear a stress, and mark XP. Yeah. So Gemma, are you cool with having this scene now? Yeah. So you're sitting at a table in the checkpoint when Dr. Fuchs walks in, dressed rather stunningly in a it's like a Katharine Hepburn-esque pantsuit, for lack of a better descriptor. Kind of the pants are very straight and kind of flowy. She's wearing heels. A light blazer over a blouse, and a wide brimmed hat, similar to the hats that you wear, but like much more stylish, right? And big sunglasses. And she looks around the checkpoint trying to find the person who Hilda has set up with her to meet.
Yeah, well, and I think, noting that Gemma would stand up or step out from. I imagine Gemma already has some kind of private location reserved, or a place where we could have a conversation.
I mean, it's the kind of place where people have private conversations, right? In theory, someone could be trying to eavesdrop, but sort of it is that kind of place, right? It's the place where spies go to have their safe meetings. And I think Anton, you're gone by this point, so there's no one else is there that you of the team. Although Lily and Vald are going to walk in a moment, and we'll let them sort of decide how they want to play it. But I want Gemma to make his pitch, to make their pitch. So you signal them to this booth in the back, right? I guess is sort of the kind of space you've described. And she sits down and she takes off her sunglasses. She flags down a waiter. And orders a croissant and an espresso. She says, "I'm told you have something of mine."
Yes. I think
her
you
one
may...
of her blazer sleeve is like pinned up, right? Because her arm is missing from below the elbow there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Gemma says, "Look, we can be more direct. I think you know what I have of yours, and I should also let you know that I think I can restore it to you, not just give it back, but fully restore it and make you whole."
Why?
Well, that's partly what I wanted to hear from you.
What's in it for you?
Well, look, I don't know all that you have been up to, but I do know that that you have hurt people, and I would like to mediate and persuade you perhaps to reconsider your course and maybe consider how you could do your work in a better fashion, in a fashion that would benefit.
So she smiles kind of ghoulishly, and she says, "There is no question that I want my arm back, but I don't want something like that floating around. But if you know something of what I do, then you know that this situation won't really be a problem for long. So again, I ask, what's in it for you? I'm certainly not going to stop doing what I do, my life's work, because of something like that, merely because of the loss of a limb."
Well, if you don't need your arm, then I can find other uses for it.
I'm going to make a suggestion here. So you can, if you want to figure out what might be, persuade her to get closer to what you want, right? You have a couple of choices, right? You could roll discern, right? You can sort of or you can, you also have this Radio Free Europe move.
Yeah. No, that's
which is like a cool thing that we haven't seen yet. That might kind of help you.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Radio Free idea. I mean, and I think the way this maybe looks fictionally is, when she kind of shows her incomplete arm, that Gemma would kind of reach out to touch her and say, I can restore this, and it certainly would be a better restoration than anything you could do.
Yeah. What are you opening your brain to? Talk to me. That's physically what you're doing with her, but what are you tapping into here to get this information? Like, how do you open your brain to the musical spheres, the radio waves, or the ley lines of magic?
Well, yeah, I want to know. I want to get a sense of her vulnerability. Everybody has some real kind of spot that
for sure. Yeah, no, I know what you're looking for. My question is, I want this is more like a question about your magic power, about this power you're using.
Mhm.
Like what? How does this power work? Right. What are you tapping into in the atmosphere that you're then pulling this information out of about her? Right. It says the line the move reads, when you open your brain to the music of the fears, the radio waves in the atmosphere are the ley lines of magic. So I'm just curious, like how you do that, what you're tapping into.
I think what happens is, right, I have this spine,
Yeah.
this kind of metal piece
Mm-hmm.
in my spine, and I think when I'm doing this, it really starts to resonate, and I can definitely feel it. I think when it's going on, other people can even begin to hear this kind of humming that's coming from my spine.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so roll plus dreamer.
Okay. All right. And my dreamer is +2. So
So that is a 8. Oh
yes.
no, it's a 6. Sorry.
Oh no, it is
Six.
a 6. Yes, it is 6.
It's a 6. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think so. You feel that vibrating in your spine, and it's like it's a strange thing, because you see that what you thought, her sleeve was pinned up and she didn't have an arm, but now you can see superimposed on top of that, and it's weird because it's not physical, but the vibrations are it's almost like an echolocation kind of thing. Maybe it's not quite visual. You're sensing that there's something attached at the end of her arm. It's not visible right now, and it's not even really tangible. But she's already started replacing it. And it can do so much more. You don't know what, but it can do so much more than what I think actually what that's what you pick that up immediately, and then you feel, as you sort of you describe yourself sort of like reaching forward towards her arm to sort of explain what you can do, right? And you feel, although you don't see it, you feel like an iron grip, and something almost like sharp claws piercing. You see tears appear in your sleeve, and your arm is clay, and so that it doesn't pierce, but you can feel the something sharp touch on your clay arm, as she says to you, "No, Gemma, I can't and I won't hurt you here. And like I said, I do want my arm, but you don't have anything to offer me." But sorry, that's not true. You do have something to offer her. You have her arm, but you don't. But the thing you're at, but you have much less leverage than you believe. And she lets go, leaving your sleeve torn. As she starts to stand up. I think as she's starting to stand up, and turn towards the door, but before she does, so you have a second to react, Lily involved. You find yourselves at the door you see her through the doorway all the way in the back as you're arriving at the checkpoint, sitting with Gemma, and she's getting up to go.
The
and actually At that, let's take our next break. Let's take 5 and come back at 10 after.
I'm back, Jesse.
I was talking a whole bunch to a muted mic. So Vald and Lily, yeah, you see Dr. Fuchs getting up and putting on her sunglasses and sitting across the table from Gemma. You have a moment before she like turns towards the door and sees you. What would you like to do?
Real quick, I just want to ask, so how far away from the checkpoint do you have to be to do violence to people?
That was going to be my question as well.
What I'll say is, like, if you want to like follow her a block, you're fine. You know, it can get iffy if you're like standing in the doorway, like indoors and deciding to do that.
Right.
You know, and if you decide in your head, I don't think it matters. But like if you have a conversation, or even like, you know, we'll sort of. I'm certainly willing to say, you know, if you pull this off discreetly and successfully and no one knows, then whatever. But if it doesn't go well, one possible consequence is like, you know, the proprietor realizes that you were standing there in the doorway in the like making a decision together to go after her, and that could have consequences.
For sake of arguments, can we say that we're across the street or something?
Yeah. I mean, I get yes, for sure. I think in which case you don't see you don't see any of this, but you don't know that she's meeting with Gemma. But that's
right.
fine.
I kind of want that information though.
Okay.
Is that okay?
In that case, I think what happens is I see her standing up, and I promptly grab Vald and spin him into like an alcove and act like I'm passionately kissing him.
There's like a huge like perceived age difference here too. Sure, yeah.
It is a terribly modern city.
Yeah, I mean, I think she gets up and then she sort of like walks by you without no. You know what? I think that is then a keep calm and carry on roll. I'm willing to let either one of you make the roll. I kind of want to say Vald. Lily's the one who's being proactive in trying to stay, but I think Vald seems like they might have a hard time keeping calm under the circumstances. Does that make sense?
I will mark a stress to.
Yeah, that's exactly how this should go. One of you should help the. I think you should be helping Vald here. Does that work for you, Vald, to be the one who rolls?
Absolutely, yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I'm like taken aback by this, and also very confused that this woman was meeting with Gemma, and yeah, so I think that makes sense. So this is roll without a label, right? But I'm rolling 3 and taking the highest.
Yep.
God damn it.
So many failed rolls in this game. So the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to say 2 things happen here. Number 1, Vald, you are going to mark the condition, I think burned. And excuse me, and she's also gonna it's a weird thing, Vald and Lily, because she walks by you and she doesn't see you, but she sort of like picks her head up and she smells the air and she says, and she turns to you, to the back of your head, Vald, and says, that deep piney scent is very noticeable. I see you found your way out. And Gemma, you see all of this, by the way. You're like, if you hadn't seen them kissing, you now notice it as you've watched her start walking out and see the two of them there. What do you actually no cut Anton? So what have you been up to since you left the checkpoint?
Oh, well, I probably needed a minute to compose myself.
Sure.
And I don't know who is going to be able to give me advice in this situation. But it may be that the best person to give me advice really is Vault. But I guess I may have just gone home at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can make contact with your devil person, right? That's someone who you work with and for, and so I think it would be easy for you to reach out to them.
That's true.
Some suggestions for possible resources to look to. In terms of NPCs, I also think we haven't really talked much about the proprietor of the checkpoint. But I think there Anya Rachmaninoff is this ghost, right? Who doesn't realize that she's a ghost. But I wonder, she knows a lot of people and a lot of what goes on here, and could also be a potential resource. They're not on the NPC tab. They should be.
Well, yeah, I hesitate to contact my employer, but I suppose that, well, I don't know if I can really talk to my employer about this because they don't. I don't really want them to know I'm looking for the book, or maybe they know, but it would still be kind of weird to talk to them about it. Right?
That's up to you.
Yeah, I don't think. I think if there's an NPC, I'm going to ask for advice. Yeah, it'd have to be the proprietor of the checkpoint. Is a good idea.
Yeah, so if you want to be walking in now as all this is going on, you can be. I think that makes for an interesting scene. It's nice to have all the PCs back in one place as we're heading towards the end of the end of the session. So yeah, if you want to walk into if you sort of you've gone for a little walk, right? You've cleared your head. You want to give Angle a chance to clear out a little bit before you're trying to decide, who do I talk to? Do I go to the devil? Do I go? You settle on the proprietor, right? And then you walk back in, to see Vald and Lily making out. This is right by the doorway, right? Alcove near the doorway, and Dr. Fuchs standing there looking, I think, mostly nonplussed. Right, I don't think she's expressed recognition of Vald, but she hasn't sort of laid out a goal here or anything yet. And so I don't know, what would you like to do? And I don't know, you probably, given everything that's happening here in the foreground, you probably don't immediately notice Gemma in the background, but she's there. They're there. What's your play? What would you like to do?
Well, I mean, is it obvious what's going on? Kind of.
I think this is right at the entryway, right? This is where we sort of have set this up, so you can't miss it walking in. If you wanted to talk to Anya, I imagine she probably has things to say about all of this. You could call her over, or you could just you mentioned also possibly wanting to talk to Vald, so there he is.
That's right. I mean, do I read this? I mean, am I able to read the situation fully enough that I might want to know if I might want to distract Fuchs or?
Well, so last you knew, Vald was in Fuchs's custody, Or, you were right. And now, and Lily was pissed at you and in the wind. And so now you're seeing like all of those parties are there, but the sort of alignment of the situation is very different from what you had, what you last knew. So I think it's sort of on you to sort of say, well, how would you react to that?
I think I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I do like see this distraction, like that Vald and Lily are very clearly kind of creating a distraction. At least I think so. And so, yeah, like I will just try to engage Dr. Fuchs just to either help them slip away or whatever it is they're trying to do.
Sure. So what do you say? How do you engage her?
I'm like, Dr. Fuchs, this is such a wonderful coincidence. Oh, I've been thinking that, I have pulled up my briefcase. I have some items here that you just might be interested in purchasing. Just 1 second. I will just show you very quickly.
I think, and she looks at you and she says, I'm not done with this one, but give me your card. And I think you can try to pull something out to wow her here, right? I think that's to sort of, right, but she's very interested and involved.
Okay.
But you definitely, if you want to use your collector move to pull something out that could wow her, this is a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2d6 plus Fable, which is +2.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, did that actually roll something over a 5?
Yeah, that's a 10.
Whew. Well, I get to mark notoriety.
Get to mark notoriety again. You're the one who's been rolling the best here today. And yeah, tell me what you pull out and how it wows her.
So I think that I pull out a sort of I'm like, and I have this item that oh yes, it is an enchanted scalpel. I believe this will cut any sort of creature, even one made of stone.
She looks at it and she says, well, that is quite, I've been looking for something like this. It's come. And she gestures to a table. She wants you to sort of like demonstrate it for her. Right. And you can pull out whatever you want from like your briefcase in terms of like different materials to years and years ago. I forget the name of the company now. But whatever, it's one of those fancy those knife companies where they go door to door, and it's kind of a pyramid scheme, but they also sell kind of good knives. So a friend of mine was working for them, and they gave me their knife demonstration. I'm picturing something like that, but instead of like a cutting rope and cutting whatever, you're like, and here's this kind of flesh, and here's that kind of flesh, and oh, here's some rocks.
Right.
But as she gets pulled away, she says, I will find you. Make no mistake. And Vald, I'm curious what you'd like to do in this moment. Do you stay? Do you go? Do you? I know you and Lily both want to kill her, probably sooner rather than later. So,
I think I would leave. I don't know. I don't know what benefit there would be to staying. I think I want to just immediately start, like, get out of here so we can start planning how to take care of this woman. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Lily, you see me like kind of, I mean, obviously you witnessed that whole interaction. You see I'm very uncomfortable and I'm just booking it towards the door. What do you do?
I'm going to get spooky.
Sure. Tell me how. What are you trying to do?
I am calling on every spirit that can hear me in Vienna that has been wronged, that died unavenged, that has unfinished business due to harm, to aid me. And I want all of them to pour into her and share every single sensation of pain that they can.
Okay, well, before you even roll, you are marking turmoil on the checkpoint.
Okay.
This is violence. Make no mistake about that.
Now, is that something that I just marked for myself?
No, it goes in the checkpoint. I've already marked it.
Okay.
Actually, you are also using you are both enacting violence and using supernatural powers.
Yeah.
So, and I think we'll see. There's some others. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. But I think part of the stakes here is whether you are banned from the checkpoint personally. Right.
Gotcha.
I think that's like that's. We'll see how this goes, but that is a possible outcome here. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll plus Fable.
Alrighty. My Fable is at 1. Anybody want to pitch in and assist with this?
I'm already at 2 stress, so probably not right now.
And I also want to make pitching in with this, like you are taking on some of the
heat from the checkpoint.
Some of the heat from the checkpoint too. People can also choose to interfere. I want to point that out. I think fictionally it's a little harder than helping, just because like I don't know that Lily's indicating, but exactly what's about to happen. But certainly like Anton, as someone who's in conversation with Fuchs, might be able to interfere if he wanted to.
Well, I wonder if I'm already inadvertently helping just by distracting her. I mean, I'm not trying to help, but perhaps I actually am.
I mean, it has to be enough that would cause you stress, right? Like you need to be doing something. I think if pulling her away in that way was stressful, which it probably is. Like I think you could mark stress and say you're helping if you want.
Sure. I mean, I was trying to help. I just wasn't like trying to help with this part of it because I didn't know about it, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. You could definitely mark that stress, and Lily can roll for it with advantage.
Sure, I'll do that.
But you remember you're taking on some of the risk here too, in terms of the possible downside. Yeah, go ahead and roll with advantage, there, Lily. Feel the pain.
That just gets me to a 6, unfortunately.
Oh, Lily, I'm going to give you a gift anyway.
Okay.
Despite the bad roll, it's a very small gift. A spirit, two spirits answer your call. Not all of the spirits in Vienna. How you ever thought all of the spirits would answer your call? Well, the arrogance. But two spirits do answer. And you hear a voice in your head. It is a voice that you recognize well. It is a voice full of rage. And it says, "Where am I? What am I doing so far from the river?" And it is your old friend,
Rutgar.
Your old friend Rutgar. But he's in your head now. You don't see his spirit. He is possessing you. And if you want, and you feel the overwhelming urge to physically attack Dr. Fuchs, you don't have to. And this is not I'm not offering you XP per se. Well, I guess I kind of am, right? But this, you could 100% hit that release move to hand over control to the affliction if you want.
Jesse, you had me at Rutgar's in my head.
Yep.
I was in from that point and said, you could, attack her. And it's like, well, I was planning on doing that anyway. So sure.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and hit that release move.
Sure. Yeah.
And I will hand over control to
Well,
Rutgar.
so two things happen. So that was the first thing. But I didn't tell you about the second spirit whose attention it gets. Who is Anya, the proprietress? But the thing about Anya is she doesn't know she's a ghost. Right? And she just feels compulsive magic tugging at her. And she looks around and sees little Lily Krause throwing herself at Dr. Fuchs, clawing at her. And Lily, because you gave up control, there's one more thing that happens.
Oh boy.
And it's all at once, which is you take as you dive at Dr. Fuchs, she looks up and just you feel a clawed hand push you back, shove you hard, and there's this roaring in your ears, in your head. You're screaming. You don't know what's going on. I'm going to murder you for what you did. I'm going to murder you. And then Anya's at the door, and she's saying, "Krause, I never want to see you in here again." So you take one more stress, which you probably
that maxes me out on stress.
Well, but did you clear the stress from the release move yet?
You know what? That leaves me at 3 then.
Right. I wanted to double check that. But you are knocked out on your ass, and you are banned from the checkpoint. And Rutgar, though no longer in control, is still in your head. So a lot of things just happened to you there. Gemma.
But to clarify, was that clawed hand? Was that from Dr. Fuchs?
Yes, it was. She felt it, but she didn't see it. Right. It's the same thing that you felt on your arm, but I don't think you. You just saw her stand up. Gemma, I'm going to give you the scene now from your perspective, right? Right, because you've been kind of like watching all of this from the back of the room, right? You see Anton come in, and you see Dr. Fuchs notice Vald and Lily. You see Anton come in, and like somehow or another, very strangely, right? Like, how is this so possible, right? Like, pull her over onto this table. You see Lily attack her. You see her stand up and shove her arm, which appears to ends below the elbow, forward, and then Lily is just shoved back and out, like defying gravity. She probably there are people behind her who probably got shoved out of the way, right? Like it doesn't make sense. And then you see Anya standing in the door, and I think Fuchs starts yelling at Anton. Were you part of this? What is even happening here? Rachmaninoff, he was in on it too. Violence is not allowed in this place. You know it. This was a setup. And you see Anya then coming over to try to to try to calm down. Free drinks free coffees for the house. And Gemma, I'm curious how you respond to all this. As Anton is being yelled at, and Vald is, I think, kind of like looking on in shock. Vald will tell us what they're doing when we get there, but I don't.
Yeah, I was partly looking at the release moves and was thinking of a naive reaction, which is one of my release moves. Yeah, I'll this be perhaps a little comic, being naive.
Sure, no, that's fine.
I think Gemma feels badly about Lily being thrown out, and so I think Gemma's gonna kind of grab a couple drinks on the way out and approach Lily. And I think the first thing Gemma will say to Lily is, humans are so hard to decipher. I had no idea you and Wald were an item. But congratulations, right? And give Lily a drink to congratulate her on the relationship with Wald.
Yeah, and like you're back in control of your body, Lily, but there's you still hear, Rutgar in your head.
Is Fuchs still there?
Fuchs is still in the checkpoint, but you're outside the checkpoint now, right? You're on the other side of the door, and you are not allowed back in.
I'm going to scream through the glass. You have to come out sometime.
So you're just ignoring Gemma.
And then I turn to Gemma and say, well, we aren't, as you say, an item. Fuchs was passing us, and it was the only thing that I could think of to do to conceal, or at least try to conceal our identities so we could get her farther away from the checkpoint to kill her.
I'm curious, Gemma, are you trying to share comfort here also? Lily has to be willing for the move to actually hit, but I'm curious if you're trying it.
Well, I think the comfort would probably come in now. I mean, now that Gemma knows what is going on, and I think if he was going to share comfort, I don't know that it would be. I think Gemma activating that naive move. I think Gemma's now. Initially, when Lily was saying you have to come out sometime, he thought that was aimed at Vald, like that, right? She wanted Vald to come out to join her, and now it's like, oh, this is all about Fuchs, and says, I was meeting Fuchs here to try to mediate something with her.
Perhaps you could mediate her crossing to the other side.
Well, I don't know what that would accomplish.
It would ease the suffering of at least some of the dead in the city, knowing that they had been avenged.
Well, I can't go in there and plot against Fuchs. That's against the rules of the checkpoint.
I know. I'm not asking you to. I made my choice. I wouldn't expect anybody else to make a similar choice just because I asked.
And I think on that, we're going to cut back into the checkpoint. And she's done yelling at you, Anton, and she's talking to Anya and saying that crazy kid was just shouting outside. Right? She has no idea who you are, Lily. That's another thing to sort of realize, right? Like you have not encountered her face to face really yet. That crazy kid is still shouting at me outside. Do you? Anya, is there like a back door to this place? You owe me at least she's gonna come after me the second I'm outside this cafe. And Anya's like, oh, there is a way you could go. And so Anton and Vald, you both hear Fuchs trying to talking to the proprietor about a way out that would not take her out the front door past Lily. Are you interested in, how do you want to follow up on that? Vald especially. I'm curious how you've been sort of taking all of this in.
I'm guessing, given sort of the nature of this place, that it's not as simple as just a back door, right? It's like a door that leads to the exit of another building or something, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about what it's sewer access, maybe it's the rooftops, maybe it's a magic portal that takes you to another cafe on the other side of the city,
right?
Whatever
the case, it doesn't seem likely that could run outside and beat her there. I don't know. I guess I'm interested in what Anton is doing, because Vald is just sort of, I think Vald is just kind of like dumbstruck right now. Like all of this stuff just happened in this like very quick span of time. He was already kind of off kilter from, seeing Fuchs with Gemma, and like it's, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just sort of dazed for a moment.
Anton, how about you?
Yeah, so I have this release move called Prickly Berate someone for not heeding your orders or advice.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to come out and like start yelling at, well, me yelling is too strong, but talking harshly, I think, to Lily.
You're going to leave the checkpoint also, so Vald's alone in there. Do you follow Anton? Do you just sort of like let her go?
I think so. Right? I mean,
no, I think that's great. I think if you all leave the checkpoint, Fuchs is just going to get away, which is maybe
I think I don't immediately follow Anton out, but I think it's more like she gets led away while I'm still just kind of like standing there, just kind of like,
sure.
And then probably after I notice she's gone, then I go out to whatever scene is playing out there between Anton and Lily.
Sure, yeah. So Anton, tell me, what do you tell Lily? What do you say to Lily?
Yeah, so I've been this kind of like jovial, like Bavarian fellow, and I think that pretense sort of drops a bit. And I'm going to say, like, what are you doing? I knew you were young and impulsive, but headstrong. This is beyond. You have acted naively. You've endangered me. You have endangered yourself. You have endangered all of us.
Does your tongue ever stop flapping in the wind, you traitor?
Traitor? What have I done to betray you? What have you done to betray me? Just now, I have almost also been kicked out of the checkpoint.
You sold Vald.
Well, yes, but technically, but he agreed.
I'm just going to slap you at this point. Do I need to roll? Do I need to actually, like, roll for violence?
What are you trying to accomplish
with the slap?
Yeah.
Making him be quiet and stop this blathering and rationalizing and trying to justify his actions.
You tell me. Does Lily need to roll to make that happen, or are you like? I think it would probably be like a It would probably end up being something like you don't pull a fast one on PCs, but I think.
I don't think she needs to roll. I mean, I feel like I'm just like a guy. Like, if you want to slap me, you can just slap me. And
sure, yeah.
I'm not really a fighter,
Does it actually shock you into silence?
No.
Definitely mark your release move, Anton. By the way, you've done that, yeah.
Okay.
And take the XP for it and clear the stress.
Okay.
Oh, Robbie would like Gemma.
Gemma. What are you doing as this is going on?
Well, I'm thinking, since, the return of the arm was not successful, that maybe Gemma will try a Tinker Tailor on the arm and turn it into a kind of homing beacon on Ms. Fuchs. Since it came from Ms. Fuchs, maybe the arm will now, like,
she's a doctor, Dr. Fuchs.
Dr. Fuchs, yes. The arm, maybe tinker it up so that it points to where it came from.
Yeah, I think you could definitely try that out. Go ahead and roll.
And this is with
Dreamer.
My Dreamer. Okay. I tell you, our rolls tonight have been
not great.
Oh, ends up being a 10.
There you go. Some mark notoriety, first of all. And then, so pick 2 from your list.
So I think, right. The idea here is that this arm will now point to the location of Dr. Fuchs.
Correct. And it will do that. It does the trick, but you're going to pick 2 things from this list.
Yeah,
the devices are disguised as quiet or subtle. If not, it's loud or ostentatious, mark notoriety. The device or disguise lasts as long as you need it. If not, the MC decides when it falls apart. The device or disguise is comfortable or compact. If not, it is constricting or cumbersome.
So I think it's going to last as long as I need it to.
Sure.
Um,
So it is neither quiet nor subtle. So you mark notoriety. And I think the thing about it is she immediately feel like it's tugging towards her, but she's tugging towards it, and she knows.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's gonna be expecting you when you show up with it, whenever that is. She can feel it. She can sense its proximity. Right? That's what that means. If you want to change your choices based on that, that's fine.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, that makes it a kind of
And it is constricting or cumbersome.
No, well, no, I think with the 2, I have 2 that I pick.
Oh, you picked 10. Sorry, you picked 2, right?
Right. But
sorry. So which were the 2 that you picked? I misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll go with right. It's going to last as long as I need, and it's going to be. I like your idea, right? So I mean, I'm fine with going with that one.
Yeah, cool. So it's the other 2, yeah. And you can easily, you can even still have it inside your body and feel it. That's what comfortable or compact means, right? Like you don't even have to take it out and point to it. You can just have it and feel it. So the 2 of them are fighting. Like, do you jump in and say what you've just done to them?
Yeah, I think I actually have the arm out, and it's like I have the arm pointing up, but the finger is pointing to, and I will let them know that I have a way of knowing exactly where Dr. Fuchs is and how far away she is.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. How I think maybe Vol, that this is the point that you walk out
I was just about to say that.
As Gemma is explaining it. So I'm curious, Anton, Lily, are you listening to Gemma at all?
What is Gemma saying to me?
Gemma is telling you about this device that he just made.
Right. That I know exactly where Dr. Fuchs is, where she is moving, and how far away she is from us.
So are we all standing outside the checkpoint at this point? Is that what's going on?
I think you're all just on the sidewalk right out front, right? You haven't you haven't gone anywhere.
Well, maybe when you start talking about it, I will stop yelling. Listen.
Lily?
I'm going to glare at Anton and listen.
Yeah.
Gemma, can I have that? Can I borrow that?
Well, it won't work with you. It needs me to serve its function.
And
but there she goes, right? And I'll kind of point where the arm is.
Your purpose for the good doctor is, and I look over at Lily, a little bit different, I think, than mine and hers. I want to make sure you understand that. I want to make sure that you know what you're doing if you let that thing point it towards her.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what my stance is with Dr. Fuchs right now, but I think it might be useful for us to at least see where she's going and to trace her movement.
And I think, and this is maybe, I think you all hear like a whoosh of displaced air above you. And I think, Vald, you feel a power that you haven't felt often, but is a power in this city, some kind of magical power, come and go very quickly, as a piece of thick, kind of heavy cardstock falls down, Anton, to the ground at your feet. Do you pick it up?
Sure.
So it's almost like it's a business card, but it's bigger than a normal business card. And it's got 2 stamps on it. On the top left-hand side is an American flag. And on the top right-hand side is a pair of angel's wings. And in the center, it says, the consortium has what you're looking for. And then this is typed, dash angle. And I think that's maybe where we're gonna call this session. As we're getting close to the end of our time. Let's do our end of session stuff. And then we have one more session, but I think we've now sort of set up maybe a mission for that last session that everyone can get behind, even if you have different goals. So yeah, end of session. The end of session move here is each player should look at their mission objectives. I'm going to start with you, Gemma, and Gemma, you also have your roll move, which you can get XP for. Mm-hmm. So number one, let's take a look at your roll move. Do you think that you have lived out one of your interpretations? Have you mediated, innovated, elevated, or renovated?
I was mostly working on mediating.
Yeah, I think you've done that pretty effectively. Yeah. So you should definitely take an XP for that.
Yeah.
And then have you met your mission objectives?
Well, I don't think I've reformed Hildegard.
No, you have not in either sense of the word. No, so you don't take XP for that. Vald, have you killed either Fuchs or Adler?
Come on.
Yeah. And you don't have the book yet.
No.
So no. Anton, have you found the book? Doesn't sound like it.
No, I did make a little bit of progress, though.
No, you're definitely. Everyone is making progress on their missions, no question. But you don't mark XP unless you've, I think, actually finished it. And then Lily, did you track down 5 surviving family members or kill Fuchs or Adler? Nope, not yet. So no XP there. Then. No one I think have any of you abandoned any of your mission objectives? You can decide to if you want to. No. Okay, now anyone who's made progress on missions, on a mission, mark an XP for each mission that you've made progress on. And if you haven't made progress on one, if you've made no progress at all, you should mark a stress. And if you can't mark any stress, if you are full of stress, you take a condition. And finally, anyone who wants to does anyone want to add a new personal mission objective? I feel like everyone's very full up on missions, but you can if you want.
Since Anya came to my call and doesn't seem to realize she's a ghost, I want to make her realize that she's a ghost.
Sure. I'm just gonna say you could definitely add that as a mission objective, a personal mission objective. We only have one more session, so I don't know how much we're gonna get that in, but we'll do what we can.
Honestly, that's just it's on there in case you decide to run this again or go.
Sure, no, for sure,
or whatever.
For sure. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So that's end of session. I'm gonna end this recording now. Hope everyone had a great time. I hope people are enjoying listening, watching, whatever you're doing. And yeah, have a great night.